Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday.
How are you today?
I'm after a tumultuous week, I'm actually good.
Very good. You know, because we're talking about emotional intelligence today, and that was a little sneaky trick for me to find out how are you feeling, to give a little bit of an impression that I'm concerned about your emotions. So, talking about live intelligence, of course, about emotional intelligence today. So, as always, we want to start with a definition. Do you want to share your definition with us?
Well, there's a simple one. Emotional intelligence, or EI, it's also been referred to as EQ, refers to the ability to recognize and understand emotions, both in yourself and in others, and use to understanding to manage your own emotions and relationships effectively. It is important because it helps individuals navigate the social and emotional world, make better decisions, and communicate more effectively and build stronger relationships.
Okay.
And I must say, it's interesting. I've been going through my notes and reflecting on it and going, yeah, you can think of yourself as emotionally intelligent. It's like that quote of Dan Millman: some days you're a genius and some days you're an idiot, or there aren't anything like a genius. There's only people who have genius moments, and then they have regular moments or idiot moments. And I have to be honest with me, I think that pretty much comes into me with emotionally intelligent. I can be very emotionally intelligent sometimes, and sometimes the devil comes into me, and then it's just like I'm learning to control the desire to press buttons. So yeah. Anyway, what does it mean for you?
Oh, what it means for me. I have to learn, I had to learn this the hard way. Is not only regulating my own emotions, but it's being aware of the emotions that other people have.
Mm,
And I am extremely sensitive to the emotions that other people have, but then I have a hard time regulating my own.
mm.
And so that has been the difficult challenge for me to do that. And you know, just like you were talking about the importance, and you know, my experience, my background in business and stuff, it's all been about communications. And I have always been extremely impressed with people who are effective communicators. That is just something that it fascinates me how someone can, it seems like it's almost instinctive that they know the right thing to say at the right moment to get the right reaction out of someone. So that I figured out, you know, just through researching this and really going deep into what emotional intelligence is, that is a part of being emotionally intelligent, is knowing how to use your communications to help regulate others' emotions and your own emotions.
And it's interesting because I feel there's something rises up for me when you say that,
Okay.
because I agree with you,
Mhm.
but I don't agree with you, or I have just a little proviso in there, proviso, and that's like I know some people who use communication and the fluency in that as a mask.
Mm.
So you get certain people, you know, when you're communicating with them, they're smiling and happy, and you just feel so good, and they're charming.
Mhm.
But they are they emotionally intelligent, or are they emotionally manipulative? Because
Okay.
you get some people who are very good at manipulating the emotions of others. You were saying sometimes you feel overwhelmed, you get really sensitive to the emotions of others.
Mhm.
And that's actually one of the challenges I was going to refer to later with being emotionally intelligent,
Mhm.
is that some people take advantage of that.
Mhm.
They are very good at reading
Oh,
emotion
yeah.
in people and manipulating accordingly. I know that I used to be, I'd be very susceptible to the victim. You know, I've spoken to you before about the diamond model,
Mhm.
which is this personality typing that I actually learned from a company called Psychology at Work, Justine and Damien.
Mhm.
And long story short, there's a diamond, which is basically a square turned on its side,
Mhm.
4 sides, but B1 is where I fall quite often is type A personality. Although I'm not into the win, lose others, but I'm very competitive, I guess. Well, I was when I was younger. And then you get the B2, which is lose, lose. And in this course with them, I realized that I'm very susceptible to the B2 because the B2 is very good at attaching themselves to a B1 and manipulating them to do their dirty work for them because you almost feel like a savior.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, it's my job to save something else. So you could be emotionally intelligent, but you could also be manipulated in the process.
That's a big issue with good communicators is they know how to manipulate, and that is one of the aspects of NLP as well. The original NLP, neuro linguistic programming, was actually misused to manipulate people because you knew how to, you knew they were not being quite honest. You knew it was something that was emotionally affecting them, even though they didn't say it. You knew if they were making something up. You can tell this through a lot of the things that the body language that they're sending you. But when it comes back, let's go back to emotional intelligence, because communicating when you feel like you're being manipulated, that's not a emotionally intelligent person who's doing that. They are maybe a master communicator, but they're not actually highly emotional intelligent if they're using their communications to manipulate someone.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point that sometimes not all good communicators are. I mean, I'm not going to mention his name, but there's a politician in America. He's a great communicator, but I don't know if he's that emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, yeah. Please don't mention names.
No,
Um,
we can always edit that out.
no. The other thing is that if you are emotionally intelligent and you are a good communicator and you're not using it to manipulate someone, that means you can actually negotiate better, or let's say you can mediate conflict better. So especially for people who are in business and you want to make sure you feel like your customer doesn't value what you're serving or what you're offering them, or you feel like you want to purchase something and they're charging way humongous much too much from you. That there are ways that an emotionally intelligent person knows how to navigate through those minefields and communicate their needs, recognize what the other person's needs are. Yeah, that's another sign for me of someone that is emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, what I heard you saying there as well is that companies with emotionally intelligent leaders are able to understand their clients' needs, their consumer needs, because they are willing to listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Muhib has joined us. Hi, Muhib. Hi. He
Hi,
writes,
Miriam.
NLP is still used and social media algorithms are set up using NLP to engage people and continuously keep them on the app. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much science gone into that, and the psychology of marketing uses that so much. It's actually
But I
incredible.
do want to say that NLP, I've always had a resistance to it, but I have, you know, dipped my toe into certain courses with it. And if it's properly applied, I mean, one of my favorite frameworks for finding out, for goal setting present, comes from a guy called David Key who does NLP. And so there are good bits to take. And I know a lot of people who love NLP. I've just never completely resonated with the idea. So, but I do want to just say that it can, by a lot of people, it is used for good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like fire, fire can be used for good or for destruction. It depends upon how you use it. But let's come back a little bit to the emotional intelligence part. And we were talking about NLP, we were talking about communications. And one thing that I've discovered about emotional intelligence is that you can actually learn it. If you,
of course,
if you don't have it, if you grew up in a household where there was a lack of emotional intelligence and you had to actually do the work to learn how to be emotionally intelligent, you can learn that. It is something that you can learn.
You said last week, or we were speaking about self-awareness, which is one of the ways you can learn emotional intelligence, and other awareness. And this is the same with emotional intelligence. It's to build your awareness of yourself and others again. And it's something you can learn. I mean, I'm still learning. Every time we dig deeper and do things, it's learn something new. There's the realization that, oh, I have a blind spot there. If you look at information in a new way, you it's that willingness to learn.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Let's talk about blind spots, because I think that is a big issue too, is that we often don't recognize that we have a blind spot.
Well, it's for me, it's like you learn about something, you go, oh, I'm emotionally intelligent. I mean, unless we're willing to dig deeper into ourselves, are we always willing to ask ourselves the hard questions and go, okay, well, am I in all situations? Because emotional intelligence can also be situational. There can be some moments that you're very emotionally intelligent, and I know there's some. I mean, there's some moments when, I think depends on the size of the group. I'm very emotionally intelligent one-on-one, and in an average sized group. But when it's too large a group, it confuses me.
Okay.
Something I'm working on, because it's almost like I'm experiencing noise, and there's this buzzing. Whereas,
does that distract you, or what does that do?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm hyper empathetic. And I think what you said earlier about being sensitive to others, I think it burns me out a little bit.
Okay.
So I have to narrow my focus of attention to be of service. I narrow my focus of attention to the people I can be of service to and whose emotions I need to look out for. If I start accessing too bigger groups, then I haven't learned yet properly maybe how to switch it off and just to observe. It's something I'm working on.
Okay. I hear a couple of things there. Let me just pick up on one. When you say identify which person to put your attention to, what is it that you're looking for there?
No, but it's just in life. I mean, if you're dealing with a lot of people like I do with this company and my other company, I'm dealing with people's emotions all the time. And it can become sometimes, if you can be emotionally intelligent, but if you're dealing with somebody that's not willing to be emotionally intelligent, you have to navigate that. It's not easy always. And even if you try and help them become sort of more flexible in their thinking, more accepting, etc., and guide them. If they're not there, they're not there, and it can become hard work.
Then you have to be more emotionally intelligent.
Yes, and I think, as you said earlier, one becomes sensitive. I just feel like it can sometimes, and that's one of the negative things about, if there's a downside to being emotionally intelligent. I mean, we know there are books written for coaches and counselors how to not have burnout, because you have to be empathetic to people.
Yeah.
I mean, empathy, congruency, and unconditional positive regard, and all those lovely things. But they can leave you drained.
Yes. That's
Don't
why
you
there's
find the
such a
same
thing as
thing?
supervision. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but don't you find the same thing with, if you're dealing with a lot of people, and you're being emotionally intelligent, you're being caring, considerate, doesn't it drain you sometimes?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, me personally, yes. If you think about it, there are how many actors or how many people that are on stage, or celebrities, or people that are very prominent in politics, entertainment, whatever. A lot of them say of themselves that they're actually introverts.
Well, I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
Some people won't believe that. And I guess probably in some situations, situational. I can be an extrovert. Yeah.
So that's called ambivert. The word for that.
I know it's called ambivert, but I understand this ambivert, but ambivert is also on a spectrum. It's on a band.
Yeah.
So
Situational.
yeah.
Situational.
And also I find myself, like, I really do, we're true extroverts. They get energy from people. I need to cocoon myself, recover, do my mindfulness practices, look after me, self-care.
That's where I wanted to go next. I wanted to ask you, what do you do to develop emotional intelligence? What kind of practices, or what can someone do to, first off, assess their emotional intelligence? Let's start with that. What would be a way to assess if you are highly emotionally intelligent?
Well, you can probably do a test.
Okay. But let's say you don't have a test. Let's say you're sitting in a room right now. I'll tell you how I would think about it. Here's how I would think about it. I would reflect on, what was the last thing that bothered me? Where was I getting upset about something? Because that means that, first off, I was judging something. It wasn't going according to how I thought it had to go. And then I would reflect on, how did I react? What did I say at that moment? What triggered me? What was my reaction, and what was the reaction of the person that I was with, or the people that I was with?
That's, I made notes here earlier, and I was under this topic, or this question. What you've just been referring to is that self-reflection from positive intelligence. That can also be applied in a situation like that, is to grow that self-awareness, and be aware what parts of you are triggered in a situation, and actually address it accordingly. So stops you from, it's that pause between action and reaction. So where you can have a response, but that takes emotional intelligence.
And then it brings us all. I just had this epiphany thought. The communication, it comes back to the NLP part, where we are aware of what is someone's key means to taking in information. Are they a visual person? Are they an auditory person? Are they someone who's kinesthetic of feeling? And if it's a language that doesn't reach them, so if you're talking to someone who is more visually inclined to something, and you're talking to, and you're someone who's more auditory inclined, and you're saying, I heard them say that, I heard that was going on, when actually what they would say is that I didn't see that.
Mm.
It didn't appear that way to me, you know? So all of a sudden there's disconnect between how the communication is going on. And if you're emotionally intelligent and you might not know the language of NLP, you might not know that they are talking in a visual way and that you are talking in an auditory way, but you will pick up that there is some kind of a disconnect.
Mm.
And you will start doing what I also think is one of the key things, more actively listening to what the other person is saying.
Yes. Well, I think it's also a case of, I mean, but that's practice. I mean, what you're just referring to is it's maybe NLP, but it's just normal coaching practice,
Yeah,
mirroring your client.
yeah,
And it's sales. See, like so many things is like that. Your reference to fire earlier. So many things can be good or bad. We as coaches mirror clients so that they can better hear themselves.
mhm,
And as you know, in my position as a salesperson running a company that sells products, you can also use mirroring.
mhm,
And I probably do it to a degree, but I've always resisted, you know, making too much use of it because
mhm.
I want people to buy products based on what the product is. You know, I don't want to manipulate people into but you can use it to
Yeah,
make people feel really comfortable. And you can be this charming, great communicator, but are you being honest? Are you giving the person what they really need?
they were coming back to emotionally intelligent.
Hmm.
If you're using your skills to be manipulative, then probably not. But if you're using the skills to, in let's say, an honest intention to be of service, to be helpful,
Hmm.
then you're making it easier for the other person that you're communicating with to find a solution, to get from, you know, a problem that they were having to a solution that they might could use. And
Hmm.
if you're not using terminology, or you're not using you're not approaching them in a way that reaches them, then it's just going to fly by them, and you might be holding them back from getting a solution they could actually use.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Some of the other things, it's a funny, mindfulness always comes up, doesn't it?
Yes, it
You can't
does.
escape it.
Yes,
It's
yes,
just
it does.
like the connection, the interconnection. Mindfulness always comes up.
Mhm.
Um, Self-awareness. We also had you can learn more self-awareness by willingness for feedback, and you know, and the same with emotional intelligence is willing to ask people for feedback. People, it is so important. I think you know sometimes our own little voice in the head can be can be that critical voice. We know in positive intelligence the judge, but if we're willing to let the sage in and be kind to ourselves and really assess um, how we reacted in a situation, um, we can, through our own feedback and honesty with ourselves and self-reflection, which is also part of learning emotional intelligence, through that self-reflection, and also um, the feedback of people you trust and who support you.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to say, yeah, you have to be careful of who you ask for feedback from and what their motives are.
Mhm.
You know, it's if you want to get better, like with anything, trust the people that you're entrusting your development to.
So true. And it based upon trust and authenticity.
Mm.
You would not be, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. I'm sure people do this, but I would look to someone that I trust and who I think is going to give me a well-intentioned answer if I ask for feedback.
Yes.
Criticism also is okay. I mean, there is such a thing as constructive criticism, and that is definitely helpful to get that kind of feedback.
But would you want to get feedback from a person that's not emotionally intelligent?
No,
No,
no.
because they wouldn't get it.
Well, they have a different agenda.
Mm.
It's a different agenda. And that is actually another part of being emotionally intelligent, is that it fosters good relationships.
Mm. Yes.
if you want to have good relationships, you're going to have a certain level of emotional intelligence. Otherwise, it's going to be pain all the way around. You're going
Yes.
to be wondering why you're not getting answers to the calls you're making, why you're not being invited to the parties that other people are going to, all of those things. That's all part of relationship building. That's all part of the give and take of being a human to another human.
And it's a funny thing, it's also that can also be cultural, you know, and for me, that's very, living in Spain, being from South Africa, you know, Afrikaners can be quite expressive in their communication,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not shy to call a spade a spade.
Mm-hmm.
But then and we share those sort of expressive traits with the Latin American cultures. The Spanish are
Yeah.
very expressive. The Italians, we all know,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Oh.
and the Middle Eastern cultures are very expressive in their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, and this I'm learning the hard way, the Brits are quite restrained. I mean, that stiff upper lip
Mm-hmm.
description comes from somewhere, and you have to be just hold back on, because they can get quite sensitive about things.
Mm-hmm.
I hope there are no British people listening to this and getting sensitive. It's just reflecting on culture. The Japanese are quite restrained,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so the Chinese.
Yeah.
So with emotional intelligence, it's
cultural.
understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also
cultural awareness.
cultural awareness. It's self-aware, other-aware. Those links are coming in
Mm-hmm.
with the self-awareness. But you
Mm-hmm.
need self-awareness and other awareness to develop, and you need that also to develop your emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Which brings us back to you get there the best way by being mindful.
No, being aware. It's that, I mean, for me, the mindfulness aspect here is being willing to reflect, taking time out, becoming aware of your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
how you're feeling in a particular, like you were saying earlier. But that's just like, um, I'll use an extreme example. I like taking my blood pressure because, am I anxious or am I stressed? And some days when I'm working and there's stimulus coming in from all areas, it's not always completely possible. I can take time aside for some deep work, and then other times I have to multitask
Mm-hmm.
because this one needs this, that needs that, and that needs taking care of. And the intelligence comes in from to take your blood pressure. When I hear about people who go to the doctor and the doctor says, "Well, come back to me in 6 months' time or 3 months. Your blood pressure is a bit high. We'll check it again." If that person doesn't have a tool to go back to on a daily basis and check in with themselves, they're not learning any skills to manage their blood pressure if their blood pressure is stress related. They're not eating better. They're not exercising. Nothing's going to change your blood pressure unless you do those things, like you go onto medication. And the same with emotional intelligence, mindfulness. You practice it.
Yeah.
It's you can get better at it. And you'll go, oh God, I'm so emotionally intelligent. I'm just the bee's knees. And then you go, okay, maybe I'm not all that. When something comes up, and you
Yeah.
have to have that self-awareness
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go, okay, I can learn from this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like keeping track of what triggers you, or what brings you up and what brings you down, or what makes you angry, or what gets you calm. It's this awareness of what reaction is fostered in you through something.
Well, we said last week, the emotional chart, or the emotional,
Yeah, having a chart. Yeah.
and the thing about this, I mean, that's to develop self-awareness,
Yeah.
and it's also what you'd use to develop your emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have, this is in German language, but I use this for my coaching, and it's a tool, and it says, you look on it and you say, how are you feeling? Well, I'm feeling quite lonely, and if you're And if someone says they're, and they say, I don't know what I'm feeling, but they keep talking about nobody's interested in what I have to say. Nobody's there when I need somebody to talk to. And then you can say, oh, okay, if I look at this, you're lonely. And just happened to pick that one up because I like the color blue.
Are you feeling lonely, Debbie? Can we do something about it?
I'm not feeling lonely. No, thank you. I'm actually feeling quite well taken care of.
You've had a week of being connected to a lot of people.
Extremely so.
So you're probably looking forward to isolate.
Yeah, to stepping back a little bit. That's absolutely true. Yeah. But I want to come back to how can someone develop not mindfulness. Mindfulness, we've been there. That mindfulness is a part of it. But how can someone develop their emotional intelligence? I think that the whole world is being served. The whole wide world is served. The more emotionally intelligent we members of the human race are.
And companies.
But I'm talking about every single body on the planet is better off the more higher our emotional intelligence is, because we are able to understand, just as an example, we were looking at this yesterday, I think it was, or day before yesterday, that you have an office and you have salespeople, and they're not making sales at the moment. And you see them as the boss sitting around in the tea kitchen, talking away, drinking coffee, drinking tea, eating cookies and stuff. And you bark at them and say, what are you doing here? Your sales aren't working. Get back to your desk and blah, blah, blah. And it's only later that you find out that this was a very experienced salesperson who was helping the young guys understand, making light of it and talking, telling anecdotes and stories about how when this happened to him, he did that. When this customer jumped off, how he compensated for that. And he's actually sharing wisdom in a not structured way, but he's sharing stories and wisdom that would actually be helping these salespeople to be more successful. And it's just recognizing this, instead of being the manager goes in and barks at him and says, get your butts over to your desk and start making the phone ring and stuff. Being someone who can understand that there is, what's going on here? Hey, you guys look like you're having a good time. What are you talking about? And then taking it from there. And if they say, oh, we're talking about Bill's birthday party and how he was running around drunk with a stupid cap on his head, you think, okay, that's not the conversation we want to have here. And you can direct it from there and take that, and that's being emotionally intelligent, of knowing what to say in the right time, in the right place, and with the right people. So I think, I guess it could be better decision making a better decision. The higher your emotional intelligence is, the more able you are to grasp what the situation is like and what decision needs to be taken in that particular situation. So let's talk about how folks could practice this. I know one way. I wanted to share this. I thought
come on, Debbie, share it with us.
Yeah, it's aside from practicing mindfulness, which we also have, we've already spoken about this and people can go back and look at that. The other one is journaling. But I think the most important one for me is to identify what triggers you. Name the dragon so you can slay it, right? Name the dragon. I get triggered when, I don't know, Billy Bob walks through the door with his mucky boots on, and I have just cleaned the floor. I get so cranky. I could just explode, So if that is something that's going to trigger you, using emotional intelligence to either, monitor your own feelings and say, okay, that's how it is. I'm going to have to make something at the door where he can take his shoes off at the door. So that part of the door, that part of the hallway is not going to get cleaned as often because that's where he's always going to be taking his boots off. But I talk to him and say, okay, Billy Bob, you're going to have to take your shoes off outside. and I'm going to set up a chair for you, a bench for you, a nice little place where it's going to be comfortable for you to get out of your shoes, and you can leave them standing there. But you can't do this if you're yelling at him, for
No,
example.
no, I was just thinking what you can do is lock the door, don't let him in.
That's one way. Is that emotionally intelligent?
Well, it's intelligent.
It's intelligent, but is it emotionally intelligent?
I
You
know,
know,
I'm just
yeah,
teasing.
no, but I mean, that's just, I'm just thinking about what is it that triggers you? It could be that, I don't know, your virtual assistant doesn't call you at 9:05 at 9 in the morning, but rather at 9:05. Her clock just goes 5 minutes later, So, and that is something that triggers you, that is something that triggers you. Have an emotional intelligence response to that, emotionally intelligent response to that.
Well, I mean, it's what you're referring to is also being aware to control your own emotions
yeah,
and your own reactions. I mean, it's basically not being somebody that screams or gets irate. I mean, I hate people who do that, where they can't self-regulate, because that's self-regulation is part of emotional intelligence, and they can't self-regulate, and they go off on. You think, why? Why is just think about what you're doing for a moment.
yeah,
If you just take that pause,
yeah,
and you have a bit of empathy for other people. Most people don't mean you any harm. That's the reality. Most people don't mean you any harm.
yeah.
So to have this hyper vigilant response is unnecessary. I say that because we know from positive intelligence I'm a hyper vigilant, but I don't have those reactions with people.
Yeah. So, but that means you've developed a coping strategy for when you are feeling hypervigilant. You've developed some sort of a coping strategy. You are
Well,
aware.
I would not. No, I would call it a management strategy.
Okay.
I don't. I see the word coping implies to me that I'm just getting by. I think I manage it quite well. I think I have found a way to be aware of others. I mean, I think being hypervigilant in a way makes you more aware. It's part of that sensitivity. And it actually, in a way, makes you more emotionally intelligent. Because, I mean, from my childhood, you had to learn to observe adults, and what this, wasn't always the best. So you had to learn, and people like me who go through those things, that we learn from an early age to identify emotions and cues so we can manage.
And
We can
children
manage.
are way more sensitive to that. Children are extremely sensitive to that. Yeah.
So, I can say on a positive note, the bad stuff that happened to me as a kid is something I can use in a positive way as an adult when I'm helping others. Because, like somebody said this morning, I was talking about being overly sensitive in the coaching group, and somebody was reminding me again that being sensitive just makes you a good coach, because you can follow the cues that your client's giving you, so you can best serve them. So sometimes good, sometimes bad.
I was just going to say, you need to set boundaries. How far are you going to let that in, and how far are you going to allow that to permeate where your healthy boundaries are for you?
No, of course. Well, I mean, you're referring, that post I did this week about boundaries.
I saw that, yeah.
Boundaries are a trigger for me. I think boundaries can be healthy and part of being, but they can also, some people can use boundaries to build fortresses, and they're not healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
They're the opposite, and they stop you from learning. I think if you have an unhealthy boundary, and I'm going off on a tangent because this is a big trigger for me. I think if you have an unhealthy boundary, you're basically putting the world at a distance. You're avoiding what you can. You're calling it a boundary, but you're not improving your communication skills. You're not improving your emotional intelligence. You're not allowing that play at the edge where you grow because we know as coaches that where you want to be at in yourself is, and with your clients, are that they grow, and it's not always comfortable. And then when you're not comfortable to go put up a boundary,
Oh
may
yeah,
not be healthy for growth and congruent with growth.
mhm. Absolutely true. Yeah.
By the way, can I ask, has Mohib left us or is he still there? Because you haven't commented, he hasn't commented from what you,
Who commented what?
Mohib, he commented earlier. Is he still there?
Oh, I can't tell. I can't see that. I
Okay.
said hello, hello. Yeah, boundaries. I think, but I do consider boundaries as an important part of self-care.
No, healthy boundaries. I like to define it as healthy boundaries.
Mhm.
Healthy boundaries is important. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's become an all-encompassing term, boundaries,
Yeah.
with with no grade. It's only black and white. But
Mhm.
there are shades of gray when it comes to boundaries.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. And the thing is that when you are highly emotionally intelligent, you are able to recognize when someone is intruding on your healthy boundary.
Yeah, of course. I just wanted to, and watching the time as well. And I was just thinking, can we just talk for a second about organizations?
Mhm.
Because, organizations are people. And so how can organizations promote the development of emotional intelligence amongst employees?
Mhm.
And I like this feedback I got. Organizations can promote development of emotional intelligence amongst employees through a variety of strategies, such as offering training and development programs, providing opportunities for feedback and reflection, as we spoke about,
Mhm.
and fostering a culture of empathy and emotional support.
Mhm.
And then, the diamond model I referred to earlier
Mhm.
is you want that emotional support, but you also want the emotional, see where you want to set boundaries there. Um, we were talking about boundaries and my mind alighted on that question, because with emotional parasites, the lose people,
Mhm.
no judging, but it's like in those contexts, you do want boundaries because you bring down, there's ways to, with
Yeah.
emotional intelligence, to enhance the culture in the company, but
Yeah.
there's also people who will take advantage of and drag everybody down.
Yes.
And in your company won't perform as well as you can. And
Yes.
I'm a B Corp kind of guy. It's not
Mhm.
all about the profit. And that also leads into serving the community, being emotionally intelligent and aware of your space in the world and
Mhm.
how you trade on the planet.
Mhm.
How you look after the people in the community that you have your business in,
Yeah.
how you look after your staff.
Absolutely.
So these are all ways to foster that kind of environment that is healthier.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, because who said it earlier? Somebody this morning mentioned toxic leaders, etc., in
Toxic. Yeah.
companies,
Mhm.
and especially my favorite one, the toxic managers. I don't know how people let people that are toxic managers, emotionally not intelligent, get away with it just for the sake. I mean, it doesn't even make profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It basically employees absenteeism goes up,
Mhm.
and you don't have, so just a bit of emotional intelligence in there and a bit of common sense,
Yeah.
and your company does better.
I was talking, we were talking about this the other day, and I was sharing with you what my Marshall Goldsmith stakeholder-centered coaching is all about.
Mm.
And it's an extremely cost expensive, but also profit bringing type of coaching. Because if you have someone who is, let's say, technically very versed at what they are doing, they are the most brilliant operations officer on the planet, but they are crap in dealing with customers. They tick every employee off that they ever have a connection to. They might be able to get every single process in the company, all the ducks in a row, right? But they don't have the ability to bring others along with them on that trip. And that's where, for example, empathy comes in, and those are things that have to be trained with a coach. And you can say, you can be Mr. COO or Mrs. COO and say, but I'm doing what I have to do. I've reduced costs in this company by 75% in the 6 months I've been here, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but you've also lost 40% of your team. And we're scrambling to get that fixed. And it's going to take us a year to get, everybody else straight. So, so the challenge here is, when you're in an organization, having empathetic skills and emotionally intelligent communication skills is just as important as the products, as the marketing, as the HR, all of these, the sales, you name it, it's just as important in all of these areas. So here's what I have a challenge.
Can I just
Sure.
just add something to that? It's interesting with that example you used this week when you spoke about that, you were referring, in fact, in there to cross-cultural emotional intelligence.
Yes, I was.
About, because somebody from X background going to Y and not understanding the cultural sensitivities.
Yes.
There's a lack of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
So it just lands everywhere.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, you were going to ask?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, let's give the folks, before we go, let's give the folks some tools that they can use to practice this week to show empathy. Okay. And the one I have here is use I statements when you're communicating with someone else. I have a communications background, and it's use the I statement. And instead of saying like, you're wrong, you did that wrong, you got that all messed up, is saying that I see it differently. I have a different opinion on that. Not you're wrong. That's one thing. Another I statement is, instead of saying you're not doing this right, is saying I'm really struggling to understand how your process is here. Can you explain that to me? So it's changing the way you respond to something by saying, instead of you didn't do this, you should have had, you could have, you must, in this side, using the sentence that starts with I statements. Do you have any tips for folks?
No, the thing that came to mind for me is, this comes also from psychology at work when we did that training, and it was quite interesting. It's like, instead of accusing people of behavior, it's just saying to them, when you talk to me like that, this is how it makes me feel. So basically, I remember the woman, it's like yesterday, for some reason, she was projecting her issues with her husband onto me in this court. And it was like, I was observing her, and so it was easy for me to say, I said, so I said to her, so we had to pair up, and I said, when you talk to me, and you're basically projecting your issues with your husband onto me, it makes me feel really uncomfortable. And I don't think it's a great way to develop our relationship, etc. And it's being honest about your communication without attacking. There's no need to attack, because ultimately it's the Stephen Covey thing. He uses start with the end in mind. Now you can do that as your epitaph statement, but you can also start with the end in mind in a conversation. And if you start with the end in mind and say, well, I just want a resolution to this, and leave ego out of it, not everything, your ego doesn't have to turn up for every moment and go, well, I have to get the better of this person and tell them exactly how they're supposed to go. I think the other exercises we have covered that people can do is going out and speaking to somebody they trust and asking them for feedback. How do you see my emotional intelligence? Can you give me feedback? Are there times when you think I could be more emotionally intelligent, more sensitive, more in tune with your needs.
Mhm.
That's a great conversation to open the door
Oh,
to
wow.
learn more about yourself.
That's
Uh,
a
and
big
then,
conversation.
yeah, and then you can go home and reflect on that
Mhm.
feedback, and you can be mindful of it the next time you're in a situation like that,
Mhm.
so that you turn up better.
Mhm.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to make mistakes. I still make mistakes. Unfortunately, I do. I have my moments, but I can only try to be the better human being tomorrow,
Yeah.
today and tomorrow and every day after.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. I think one more thing is to ask is you can ask someone for support if you're not feeling up to par, if you're not feeling at your best, you can it's a sign of emotional intelligence to let others know that you're not doing as well as you actually could be doing, maybe.
Mm,
So, you could say, I'm really feeling stressed out right now. I can't talk, or do you have a minute to share? Do you have an ear to listen? Or I'm really struggling with a difficult situation, and I just don't know how to comment on that right now.
mm.
Can you listen to me bounce off some ideas or something? Have you got some time for that? And that is one way to actually let out to others, let others know that you're not feeling, you are having a down moment, because as humans, like you were saying, we have our moments when we're not perfect, right?
Mm.
So that's a way to let others know that that's that moment.
What's Michelle's favorite thing? Being
Perfectly and
imperfectly,
perfectly imperfect.
no, yeah, being perfectly imperfectly human.
Yes, exactly. So I think we've had quite a conversation today, haven't we, Paul?
Yes,
I didn't
we
expect
have.
it to go this long. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you.
You too, as always, Debbie.
And as always, leave your comments in the chat if you're watching this, and follow us on here in Balance
Oh,
Work.
yes. Are we going to share the good news?
Go for it. Yeah, do.
Our
Yes.
website well, it's getting there, balanceworkscoaching.com. So you're willing to, welcome to go and have a look there
Mhm.
and have a look around. And if you want to get in touch with us, please do. You can do it on here. You can do it through our website. Go and see the stuff we offer. We're still adding to the website. If
Yes.
you have any comments about it, we'd love to hear.
Yes.
But be nice about it.
Yeah. Okay,
Good.
we're asking for feedback from people who we don't know.
No, I know. That's why I'm making fun of it,
Yeah, I,
light of it.
I fully trust the people that are listening to us. If they've listened this long, then they
Yes, that's what I was thinking as well.
yes,
If they've
exactly.
listened this far,
Yes,
they-
yes, yes.
I
And
wouldn't mind hearing their feedback.
you asked me a question before we started today, and you said, should we tell folks who we're talking to and why we're talking to them? But it was already 2 o'clock and Facebook was already starting with the live, so I didn't respond to that question. I think it's an important one, and I think the answer is important. And the reason we are holding these conversations is because we see that we are service providers. We provide a service to other people, and that's who we want to support, because we have figured out amongst ourselves, it took us a while, but we figured out amongst ourselves that even as coaches who are service providers, you need support from someone else. And
Mm,
if you are stuck in wherever you are, you notice your resilience marble bodysuit is being chipped away at, then you need to have the tools to move you out of that stuckness.
mm,
And that's what we're offering here. We're offering the coaching, the comments, the support, and the topics that we're sharing here right now.
mm.
So
And
that's
those service providers can include people like digital nomads, anybody working online. They
what.
don't have to be digital nomads, but I particularly think about digital nomads sometimes because they find themselves in new locations, possibly with nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
But anybody that is providing a service when you're working online, can even be lawyers, anybody, architects, etc. Anybody that can do with an ear, somebody that, you know, just needs support, somebody that needs coaching, somebody wants to achieve something, we are there, ready and willing to be of service.
Yes, absolutely. So thanks a lot for listening and thanks for being here. And
Thanks, Debbie.
we'll see you guys next week.
Yes.